Surrendering is a method of non-interference. How many times have you got frustrated when things were not going the way you wanted them to? Does getting angry make things any better? No, in actual fact, it makes things worse. But this happens because we keep poking our noses into things that we can't do anything about. We can make our plans, but there are a lot of things that are outside of our control that we don't realise, and then end up having a harder day than we should because of the attitude we use. Surrendering is just simply acknowledging that you are not in control of everything during your day, and you just allow the day to lead you instead of trying to run it yourself. Believe me, your day ends up being a lot more peaceful using this method. As well as being more at peace, you still get all what you want done, but without all the stress and aggravation that normally accompanies a person's day. All you are doing is just allowing the day to take the lead and show you what to do instead of the other way around. Making the adjustment. If you're not used to doing this, it can at first seem quite strange, especially if you've been a person that likes to try and make things happen. I'm not suggesting that you just sit back and let everything fall into place. You're still going to be doing the things you normally do, but with a different way of looking at them now. It is this change of attitude, or should I say opinion, that makes all the difference. If you've ever tried to change your circumstances, you find yourself getting in the way all the time. But this becomes an endless pursuit of trying to put or make things right, and with this comes the assumption that something must be wrong. So we struggle to put things in order, thinking that's what will make us contented. But the secret is to be contented with yourself, and not because you fix some external problem. The problem is on the inside of you. Get that fixed, everything else that you thought was a problem or what you didn't like won't be a problem anymore. And all it takes is by making a shift in the way you think. It's so simple but really effective, and that's why a lot of people miss it, because they're looking for some big mountain to climb. But the solution is a lot simpler than what they realise, but it does take putting aside a lot of things that may have influenced us and have shaped our belief systems. To make the change is not difficult. That's the first thing to remember. It's easy and it's enjoyable as well, and that alone provides the desire to want to change for the better. The speed of change is also up to the individual. Some change quickly, others need a bit more time, but wherever you are on the path, don't start thinking that something is wrong with you because you don't think you're doing as well as you should. Just take your time, relax, and enjoy the journey. In the past, to make progress, you may have tried to push yourself harder and harder to make things work for you. But this is totally the opposite. Here, things are changed not by willpower, but by surrender. It's a completely different world to the one we've been educated in, so the thinking needs to be renewed in order for this to work. But the process accommodates those at what speed they want to travel at, and the progress is not measured by how fast you run, but whether you're going in the right direction. No point in going faster down the wrong road. What's needed is the education to point us in the right direction. Get that right first, and then the journey becomes easier. And that's the purpose, to enjoy life a bit more rather than running around looking busy but making no progress. In this world, you're not pushed along, you're being drawn into this by your destiny and purpose. And that's the attraction of these teachings. You surrender them and they will lead you. Everything you need is already in stock. You won't lack anything. That may sound like a bit of a statement to make, but the teacher will not focus on material things that won't give you contentment, but the teaching will focus on the person and uncover who you really are and what your identity is. And when you discover that, then you realise you don't lack a thing, and everything is provided without all the hard work and effort. Were you ever taught that in school or university? No, neither was I. But you and I are not here by accident, we are here by design. So it's time to leave the usual paths that our educational institutions are leading us down and find the straight path that leads to this life. There are some good teachings in our society. I'm not saying it's all bad, but I do think there is a huge gap that is being left out, and from what I see, people are not enjoying the quality of life that they should be. So we want to talk about happiness, contentment and joy, because without those superb qualities in us, life is running on empty. If you've ever had a feeling on the inside of you that something is missing, that's normally a call to listen more, slow down and be more attentive to the things around you. But because our lives are so busy, we hardly take the time to reflect on these things. When we do relax, it's normally in front of the TV, so we haven't slowed down, but we are still taking in information and not completely switched off. I know we can watch a good film and disappear into that world for a couple of hours, and that's fine. We all need to do that from time to time. But can you remember the last time you sat down alone or somewhere quiet to reflect on your life? The great philosophers and thinkers of this world always found time to get alone and think deeper about life rather than just take the whatever will be approach. I like the story that Jim Rohn speaks about. I'm paraphrasing here, but basically he said, you might be waiting for somebody else to appear in your life that will give you the answer. But what if they don't turn up? Wonderful example, and it's right. You can't wait until somebody comes along, or maybe you're waiting until it's the right time. You could be waiting the rest of your life for the right time. Start now and things will start to unfold as you carry on the path. You don't have to know all the answers at this point. All you need is a commitment to yourself that you want to make progress, and to do that requires surrender. The reason why we find it difficult to surrender to this peaceful way of operating is because the person wants to remain in control. And while you want to be number one, there will also always be a conflict, and you will end up confused and not knowing what to do, or worse still, thinking that this doesn't work and giving up altogether. We as people like to feel in control and don't like to give up our territory, do we? I've worked hard for this. Surrender is not a word that you hear much these days, especially when talking about progress. Progress is normally talked about in terms of what you have or how much you've accumulated and the size of your bank account. It's all about getting more, but surrender seems to be completely opposite. It's about getting rid of things and attitude and still calling it progress. Surrender is all about letting go and releasing yourself from the way that you have previously thought that has made you unhappy. So once you let go, then you move into a new realm and embrace a whole new world. Well, it's not new really. It's just new to the person who's visiting it for the first time. But it is a wonderful discovery. And when you start to live from this place, you wonder why you didn't discover it before. But in the fast-paced, get there as quick as you can society we operate in, it's ignored the majority of the time. That's why you see people drinking so much until it's out of control, jumping from relationship to relationship, or they throw themselves into their work and call it professional. But the real reason is because they are trying to find a way out and cut off from the madness we have created. But the answer is not in a beer glass, another person, or a career. It's somewhere else just waiting for you to turn up and activate it, and it's called identity, or in other words, who you are. When you discover who you are, you don't need anything else. When you're complete, nothing else needs to be added to your life. You've got everything you need right now. Sounds stupid? It does to everyone who hears this for the first time, or maybe has heard, but hasn't completely surrendered to it yet. Your identity is found in who you are, not some other person's or possessions or wealth, reputation or anything else, because if you lose your job and your identity is attached to your job, you end up being depressed thinking everything is over. You can't put your value of yourself and who you are on something external or outside. There has to be a confidence that when things disappear like a job or money, you don't give away your identity with those things. If you do, then you're in trouble. A huge number of us operate like this in our lives. When things are good, we feel great, and when things get a bit rough, we can't see a way out, and we become a different person and not for the better. I think this is caused by having a huge void in our life. Then that causes frustration because we feel that something is missing, and we are trying to fill that void and find meaning and purpose in the things we own or even in other people. And we are always trying to get somewhere else from where we currently are.